Hello everyone. Today, we'll be seeing how slow Minun can beat Pokemon Leafgreen in a solo run challenge. Let's get straight into this unfortunate video. Yeah, earlier in the month, I played through Pokemon Leafgreen with Plusle, and you guys saw how it went. It was one of the worst Pokemon I played. But Minun, oh man, Minun is on a whole other level. And so they are very similar, except for a couple of very small differences, but in this run they were major. We have 60 HP, 40 attack, 50 defense, 75 special attack, 85 special defense, and 95 speed. We're in the medium fast level up group just like Plusle was. If you want to know the difference with their stats, Plusle had 10 more attack and 10 more special attack. Minun lost those 10 points and it was given to their defense stats. So, yep, straight up worse. Going from a 50 attack to a 40 attack is going to make a huge difference, especially for Brock. And as you can see, our starting moveset is identical to Plusle. We have Growl and Thunder Wave, which means I'm obviously going to have to find a Metapod in the forest and train with Struggle until I get Quick Attack at level 10. And then we get Helping Hand, which is useless, and then Spark at level 19, which is a pretty good move. And then Encore at 22, which is also a pretty good move. And here's the one difference with their movesets. At level 28, Minun gets Charm, but Plusle gets Fake Tears. Honestly, Charm might be more useful than Fake Tears because I never really used Fake Tears with Plusle, but I'm probably not going to end up using Charm much anyway. And then we get Charge at level 31, which is actually a pretty bad move. It doesn't boost your special defense by one stage until Gen 4. In Gen 3, all it did was double the power of your next electric move. At that point, you may as well just use that electric move twice. And then at level 37, we get Thunder, then Baton Pass at 40, and 47, we get Agility. So pretty much our only good level up moves are Spark and Encore, effectively speaking. I mean, Thunder is also really good. We're going to need it for the raw damage, just like Plusle did. And our TM set is 100% identical to Plusle's. We get Toxic, Hidden Power, and Hidden Power is inaccessible because the only way to get it in this game is through the pickup ability, which I ban in my runs unless it's on my main Pokemon. And Minun does not get pickup. I wish it did though. But then we also get some other good moves. We get Iron Tail, Thunderbolt, Thunder, Shockwave, Secret Power, and then through tutors, we actually get Mega Punch and Mega Kick, Seismic Toss, Thunder Wave, and Substitute. And having access to Mega Punch and Mega Kick will definitely be very good physical upgrades, but we're not going to get those until after we beat Brock. Man, if we could get Mega Punch and Mega Kick for Brock, he would not be as bad. But right now, I'm just going to be training in the grass on Route 22. There's Mankey and Spearow in this grass. Spearow gives speed EVs, pretty similar to Rattata and Pidgey, but the Mankey actually give attack EVs, and with Minun, we're going to need as many attack EVs as possible for Brock. I know at the very early levels, you need a lot more EVs in order to even count for one stat point in the early level. The whole saying of like every 4 EVs is one stat is only true at level 100. I know Gym Leader Matt in one of his newer Emerald runs, he pretty much ran the math on how it works. I think at level 50, it's like every 8 EVs gives you one stat, but in the early levels, it's really high number. I think it's like every 30 or something gives you one extra stat point. And all those extra stat points will matter for Brock. I mean, at the same time, probably not, because his Geodude's going to end up using Defense Curl anyway, but at least the attack EVs will help out for later parts of the run. And we're going to need a lot of training for Minun. I mean, Plusle needed a lot of training, but if you watched that video, slight spoiler warning, Plusle got very lucky at Brock. I mean, lucky for Plusle standards. Minun is not going to be as lucky. They both have to do the exact same strat, but when they both do the exact same strat that requires a buttload of luck, one of them is going to be luckier than the other. And I can definitely tell you Minun is going to get the short end of the stick. I continue training in the grass using Quick Attack until I get level 13. Once I get to level 13, I feel pretty confident going into the forest and taking out the bug catchers for more XP. The trainers in this game give you 50% more boosted experience points when you defeat them compared to defeating a wild Pokemon, so trainers are always going to be a better source of XP. And then with all the bug catchers defeated, I heal up at the Pewter Center and go back into Viridian Forest. I'm actually going to train here for a little bit instead of fighting Mankeys. I mean, fighting the Mankeys are good for attack EVs, but this early on, attack EVs aren't really gonna mean much, and the Pokemon in the forest generally give more XP than the ones on Route 22. I continue the training in the forest until I get to level 18. I don't think I'm anywhere close to being able to defeat Brock, but I did want to test to see if I could at least blackout train on his Geodude. So why don't we go do a quick little test. Brock leads off with his Geodude, and it looks like Quick Attack did 2 or 3 damage at the start, but as soon as he gets off some defense curls, it's obviously only going to do 1 damage, so we're going to have to do what Plusle did. We just gotta hope for crits at this point. But I can go ahead and use some growls on the Geodude, because one benefit of Minun is we do have slightly more defense, so if we use a couple of growls, we won't be really taking much damage, and it looks like with some decent luck, maybe like getting 1 crit, maybe 2, we should be able to defeat the Geodude pretty consistently. And that is exactly what happens on my first attempt against Brock, and obviously the Onix is going to completely destroy me. But funnily enough, the Onix after 1 growl, it only does like 6 damage with Rock Tomb. So that does kind of show you how good our defense is, at least compared to Plusle's. But at this point I'm like, I can pretty easily defeat the Geodude. So I actually decided to continue blackout training on the Geodude. And as I do this, I slowly gain more and more XP from the Geodude and gain more in levels. Because if I can get to level 22 and get Encore, it is really going to help make Brock a lot more consistent. And then, at 49 minutes into the run, at 19 blackouts, I defeat the Geodude, finally get to level 22, and learn the move Encore in the place of Thunder Wave. So now, if I can just get the Brock to go for a not-so-good move, I can Encore it into using something bad. I decide for some reason to Encore it into using Rock Tomb. I should have waited for it to use Tackle first. That was probably not the wisest idea, but once I get off a bunch of growls, it is not going to do much damage to me, although nothing's really going to stop the Onix from getting off a crit. So yeah, even with Encore, we're still going to need some luck. And right now, we're essentially doing the Chansey Blackout grind. I named this method after my Pokemon Red with Chansey solo run video, which you should all definitely check out by the way. Basically, I will just go at Brock over and over again until I win, but if I lose, just black out and keep the XP. But I'm not going to purposefully black out to like the Onix or something to keep the XP. It's not just a regular blackout grinding method. I will attempt to win the fight. I'm not going to purposefully lose to the Onix. That's the difference between the Chansey strat and the blackout grinding. And it takes me until 25 blackouts into the run. At roughly 58 minutes, I am finally able to defeat the Onix and get the Boulder Badge. So yeah, that was so horrifically bad. You can see why I actually chose to record this run last. I mean, you guys are seeing these videos in the order that I wanted to release them in, but behind the scenes, this was the very last video I recorded. Well, at least up until December 25th, because after December 25th, I have some special videos planned. I mean, those were recorded later, but that's besides the point. At least since we're finally done taking on those stupid rock and ground types, I now can use Spark on things, and Spark at level 23 is going to be doing some okay damage. Plus I can have Quick Attack if I need it just in case, like for any grass types. And nothing eventful really happens in Mount Moon, but as soon as I leave Mount Moon, I do go ahead and teach my Minun Mega Punch and Mega Kick. I still have access to Spark and Encore as well. And then as soon as we step into Cerulean City, we gotta ask ourselves the age-old question, should we fight Misty or Rival 2 first? And I feel like Misty is going to be an absolute joke with Spark, so let's go ahead and take on Misty first. Misty leads off with her Staryu. It is a one-shot with Spark, and then on the Starmie, I outspeed it, and it's a one-shot with Spark. So yep, just as I figured. Okay, let's go take on the Rival now. Normally the Pidgeotto likes to survive any hit it comes across, but will today be an exception? Yes it is. Spark actually one-shots the Pidgeotto. I mean, I am over-leveled, but still, it is a Pidgeotto after all. And with the Rival defeated, I can go ahead and take on the Route 24-25 Gauntlet of Trainers. This part of the game usually is pretty uneventful. A lot of the trainers are pretty easy, but there is a mandatory hiker we have to take on, either the Geodude Machop one or the one with the Onix. And I actually choose to take out the Onix because it does have slightly better experience yields, plus I can just encore it into spamming Screech or something, so that way it can't really do too much to me. And since I have access to Mega Punch and Mega Kick, there's essentially no reason to pick up Secret Power, so I'm just going to skip that TM, which is fine by me, because otherwise I would have had to fight a hiker with 3 Geodudes. I mean, I had Mega Punch, but it would have been slow. And then, since I rescued Bill, I can go ahead and get the SS ticket, and then head my way down to Vermilion City and board the boat. I was debating whether I actually should fight the trainers on this boat, but the trainers aren't really that good for experience yields, but at the same time, I am playing with a Minun. So I actually do decide to do quite a fair bit of training. At least a lot of the trainers here have water types on their teams, so having Spark is going to make them pretty quick. And then, once all the trainers on the ship are defeated, I can completely destroy the rival, get the HM for cut, and go ahead and take on the Electric-type gym leader, Lieutenant Surge. Lieutenant Surge leads off with his Voltorb. I go ahead and use Mega Kick for the one-shot. Thankfully it didn't miss. And then on the Pikachu, I should have used Mega Punch because Mega Kick missed and I get hit with a Thunder Wave which paralyzes me. Because here's the thing, electric types weren't immune to paralysis until Gen 6. But it's fine though, the Raichu really can't do too much to me, although it does just spam Double Team over and over again just to piss me off. And even though I'm paralyzed and a lot of Double Teams get set up, I somehow win on the very first try, which actually kinda surprised me. But hey, I'll take it, especially with how bad Brock was. And now with Surge defeated, I can get the Bicycle, as well as the TM for Shockwave, although I should point out, Spark is 65 power, Shockwave is 60. So yeah, Spark is just straight up better than Shockwave. If this was the newer games though, Shockwave is a special move while Spark is physical. In that case I would teach Shockwave, but fortunately for me, this isn't Gen 4. So now, we need to go take on the Route 9 Rock Tunnel Gauntlet of Trainers. This gauntlet tends to be pretty tough if you don't have a solution for Geodudes and Onixes. Plusle definitely struggled in this section, and Minun is no exception. Although I should mention, I actually get a reset on the very first hiker. The one with a single Geodude, Hiker Allen. The reason I got a reset here is because he got a Magnitude 10. My plan was to wait for him to use like Defense Curl or Mud Sport or something and encore it into using that. Although encoring it into using Defense Curl may not have been the right idea. I end up getting a reset because I am clearly not gonna be able to defeat this thing with the amount of Mega Punches I have. And if you're wondering why I don't have Mega Kick, I deleted it for Shockwave. I just want more coverage. Mega Kick sucks. But fortunately, Hiker Allen is defeated on the third try. He is still pretty difficult. And then next up, I have to fight Hiker Oliver. He has a Geodude and 2 Onixes. You can definitely see why I had to save before this fight. I actually get plenty of resets here. I didn't end up beating him until 6 resets into the run. So yep, I did tell you, this gauntlet's pretty bad, but we're still not done with hikers. I still have to take on Hiker Dudley, formerly known as the self-destructing hiker in Generation 1. I surprisingly beat Dudley on the very first try, even though I get it pretty low health. I was just fortunate that his Graveler decided to go for Mud Sport, and I encore it into using Mud Sport so that way it can't hit me ever again. And that's the only reason I win. But now with the Route 9 Rock Tunnel Gauntlet of Trainers finished, I can go ahead and make my way to Celadon City. I have to clear out the Rocket Hideout first and get the Silph Scope before I can do other things. And fortunately for me, the 2 toughest Rocket Grunts guarding Giovanni's lair aren't really that much of a problem, although I do end up having to leave after the first one to go heal at the center, which is always annoying. But on the bright side, while I did the training, at level 37, I now have the move Thunder, and I deleted Spark for it. I am not sure if I should have deleted Spark. I probably should have deleted Shockwave, but at the same time, Shockwave does skip accuracy checks, and it could be very useful for Koga. But we're still quite a ways off from that. Remember how I talked about the hikers being so bad? Yeah, Giovanni is essentially a hiker with extra steps, because he does have a Kangaskhan, which is pretty terrifying. But then again, at the same time, he does like to play stupid, and I end up beating him on the first try because he was stupid. His Kangaskhan could have very easily killed me, but he just didn't. So yep, pretty easy win, I guess, at least compared to the other fights. Then I can go ahead and get the HM for Fly, go over to Lavender Town, completely destroy the rival in the tower, and then make my way up to the Marowak. I'm not able to give it the electric death chair penalty because it's immune to that, but that's fine. I can just punch it in the face and send it back to hell because this Marowak should not be keeping poor old Mr. Fuji hostage. Come on, he's just a sweet old man. How could Marowak do such a thing? And then once I rescue Mr. Fuji, he goes ahead and gives me the Pokeflute. So now, the whole region of Kanto is my cloister. I can go either down to Koga, or I could go take on Silphco, or maybe take on Erica if I want to. And funnily enough, I decided to take on Erica first. I don't think Erica's going to be that hard, and I do want more training before I take on Koga, because Koga is still pretty tough. She leads off with Victory Bell. I go ahead and two-shot it with Thunder, and then on the Tangela, I one-shot it with Thunder, and then on the Vileplume, I miss a Thunder, I get paralyzed with Stun Spore, and it looks like, fortunately for me, Thunder is going to be a two-shot, except it isn't a two-shot because the second Thunder gets one of the lowest rolls I've ever seen, and that ends up being bad because it likes to use Giga Drain and just get some of its health back. Plus, I am paralyzed, and if Thunder misses too many times, things could go south real quick. But I win on the first try, so yep, take that, Erica. Now I can go ahead and go down Cycling Road. I do take out a few of the good bikers, the ones that give really good experience yields, mainly the ones that have Muck and Wheezing. And then when I'm in Fuchsia, I can go ahead and get myself the Substitute Tutor. I go ahead and teach this move in the place of Encore. Encore served us really well, but Substitute will be better for this part of the game. And it will be very helpful for Koga because we can use it to block Smokescreen. So let's go ahead and go take on the Poison type Master. Koga leads off with a Coughing. I go ahead and use one Substitute on it and it blocks Toxic. That's something else. Yeah, it can block Toxic as well. I one-shot the Coughing with Thunder, and I do miss on the Muck, and it hits with Minimize, so now I'm just going to have to just spam Shockwave, but for some reason, I decided to start spamming Thunder on it for some reason. It's not like I have Rain Dance on my set. I mean, I theoretically could. The TM is on Route 15, and I can easily learn it, but I really don't have room on the moveset unless I want to get rid of Shockwave, which honestly, I should have thought about it, but at the same time, I need access to a lot of electric moves because I'm going to be doing a lot of training in the water later in this run, and I don't want to do the training with Thunder, screw that. But I do get a reset on Koga on his Wheezing. I was very close to winning though, I just need to get a little bit luckier. And that is exactly what happens on the second battle against Koga. I get the luck that I need, and I'm actually able to defeat his Wheezing with more than half of my HP to spare. I can then go ahead and clear out the Safari Zone. I'm not going to get the Quick Claw here because Minun is already pretty fast. And then before I go do anything else, I actually did get a Netball inside the Rocket Hideout. There's a hidden Netball and Nest Ball in Giovanni's office. I actually picked up the Netball so that way I can get the Good Rod, catch myself a Goldeen, and go do the training in the water towards Cinnabar Island. Because I want to catch a Goldeen since I can't have access to Lapras unless I beat the rival. And I just want to do the water training before I go do Sylph. And one of the best spots to do training in Fire Red and Leaf Green, at least before Blackout grinding on the League, is actually Fisherman Ronald, aka Psych the Fisherman. He has 3 Seaking and 1 Goldeen, and if you add up all the XP, this guy gives you roughly 3,700 experience points, and if you can one-shot all his Pokemon, it's actually very quick. Plus, here's actually a neat little trick when doing the whole Versus Seeker thing. If you run around and make sure this fisherman right here, the one with 6 Magikarp, is visible on screen, if you use the Versus Seeker, he will have the red exclamation point over him, meaning he hasn't been fought yet. But if Fisherman Psych doesn't want to fight you, he'll have the X over him. Because here's the thing, if Fisherman Psych is the only one on screen and he doesn't want to battle, there's actually a text box that comes up saying no one is willing to battle, try again later. But if you have the other guy on the screen as well, even if Fisherman Psych doesn't want to battle you, at least the text won't play. It's actually a neat little trick that Axu showed me, so I'll definitely start using that from now on. I continue the training on Fisherman Psych until I get level 49, so now I'm actually going to go ahead and go back to Silphco. I'm going to do a lot of the training here as well, although there are a few rocket grunts that have Cubones and Marowak, so I do need to be careful about that, but that's the reason I still have Mega Punch. Although I really should have gotten Return at this point. I don't really know why I didn't teach it yet. Maybe I just forgot about it, or maybe I need to save it, I don't know. But while I do the training on these trainers, I just realized something. I never went over my nature or ability. My ability is minus, which is straight up useless. I'm not even going to talk about the effects, just ignore it. And our nature is Brave Bird. It's going to be plus attack minus speed. We have way too much speed for this region, plus especially we have to consider how high of a level we're going to need for the league. So plus attack minus speed is pretty much the appropriate nature. I think it's the exact same nature Plusle had. Once I defeat all the good trainers in Sylph, I get to level 53, and I feel ready to take on the rival. He leads off with Pidgeot. I go ahead and one-shot it with Shockwave due to my very high level. I can use Shockwave on the Gyarados as well for a very easy one-hit. Then on the Execute, I go ahead and I have to 3-hit it with Mega Punch, but I actually forgot to use Substitute first to block Stun Spore, so that's kinda my fault. Plus the Execute hits me with Confusion, and I get the 10% Confuse, and I actually hit myself so many times. By the time I get to red health, I'm like, you know what, screw this, let me try again. Fortunately for me, I'm not an idiot 2 fights in a row, and I go ahead and use Substitute on the Execute, and then defeat it, then the Alakazam, and the Charizard very easily. And now, I can go ahead and take out the Rocket Grunt with the Marowak, but now I need to take on Giovanni again. But this was not a good idea to do, at least without getting the TMs for Thunderbolt and Iron Tail. So I actually dig out of Silphco after getting a reset on him, sell all the money I have, get 7,500 coins, and purchase myself the TM for Thunderbolt and the TM for Iron Tail. This will be my answer for all the rock types. And having access to Iron Tail and Thunderbolt is going to make Giovanni an absolute joke. Well, not like a joke, but more like a much more manageable fight. Plus, as you can see, my moveset is Thunderbolt, Thunder, Iron Tail, and Substitute. This will be my final moveset for the rest of the run. Pretty much identical to Plusle. But now with Silphco cleared out, we need to take on our next gym leader, Sabrina. Sabrina, though, is an absolute joke. I outspeed everything on her team, although I have to rely on Iron Tail. But that's fine though. I can hit the Kadabra with Iron Tail, I hit the Mr. Mime, and then on the Venomoth, I go ahead and switch over to Thunder because I wasn't sure if Thunderbolt would kill it. And then on the actual Alakazam Ace, I can hit it with Iron Tail, and it surprisingly lives in low health. But fortunately for me, it does get a defense drop, but I decide, you know what, I probably shouldn't push my luck with Iron Tail anymore, so I just knock it out with 2 uses of Thunderbolt instead. But now, before we take on Giovanni again, we gotta go take on Blaine really quick. So why don't we go do that? I think he won't be that bad either. Blaine leads off with his Growlithe. I go ahead and one-shot it and the Ponyta right away with Thunderbolt. And then on the Rapidash, it is going to be a 2-shot with Thunderbolt. I really should have just used Thunder on it, but I wasn't sure. But on the Arcanine, I do switch to Thunder. I miss the first one, I get burned. I do hit the second one, and it survives in red health. Okay, so I think what the answer to this fight should be is Thunderbolt the first 2, Thunder the Rapidash, and then 2-hit Thunderbolt the Arcanine. Although that is not what I do. I spam Thunderbolt on the Rapidash anyway. So yeah, that was kind of my fault. But on the bright side, I'm able to defeat the Arcanine for real this time. And with access to 7 badges, I could go straight to Giovanni right away. Or if I need the rare candy, I could go to the Sevi Islands. And when Bill asks if I want to go, I actually tell him yes. I need a very high level for the league. So this rare candy will be absolutely necessary. If you're wondering where it is, It's right here behind this house. This is actually the house where you can teach Venusaur, Charizard, or Blastoise the Frenzy Plant Blast Burn Hydro Cannon move. You can't teach it to the Johto or Hoenn version of the starters in this game. It is only the Kanto ones. And with the Sevi Island plotline cleared out, I can now go to Route 12 and then go into this grass and get a rare candy as well. And then I can finally return the Gold Teeth and get the Strength HM to get another rare candy. And that is all the rare candies obtained. The only rare candy left is the one inside of Victory Road. But my plan is to grind and be a certain level before the rival fight, so that way I don't even have to worry about that Victory Road candy. So now the only thing left to do is just to go back to Fisherman's Psych and just do more training. It's not really the rival I need training for, it's for Giovanni. I feel like it's obviously for Giovanni. I start the training session at level 59, and then by the time I finish, I am level 68, and I have 11 rare candies as well. I need a minimum level of 79 for Giovanni, as well as the Elite Four members from here on out. So now that I'm at level 79, we can go ahead and go take out Giovanni. Giovanni leads off with his first Rhyhorn. I go ahead and use a substitute to block Scary Face, and then I can one-hit it with Iron Tail. Then on the Dugtrio, I'll have to hit it with Iron Tail. I'm essentially just Iron Tailing this whole team. His whole team is immune to Thunderbolt and Thunder. Just realize, Iron Tail go Burr. But at the same time, the Nidos are going to be 2-shots, and they have Poison Point to deal poison damage on me. And because of that, I do get a reset. I really should have equipped a Pecha Berry for this fight. I don't know why I didn't do that. Probably because I've been doing this run for 2.5 hours at this point, and I'm honestly just getting tired of seeing this Pokemon. I just want the run done. Once I end up getting to 14 resets overall in the run, I do decide I get the message and leave, go to Route 25 and pick up a Pecha Berry. And then, get this, I go back to Giovanni with the Pecha Berry, and I never even got poisoned anyway. Fuck you, game. And with all the preparation we had to do for Giovanni, the rival fight was an absolute joke. I just outspeed and one-hit pretty much everything. And with the rival defeated, I get level 80. This will be a nice, clean damage rounding threshold to take on Lorelei with. But are we worried about anyone else in the league? Lorelei is going to be an absolute joke. Agatha is going to be an absolute joke. Lance is probably going to be a joke, but still a little tough. Bruno, though, is actually going to be kind of difficult. But while I'm in Victory Road, I do go ahead and get the final rare candy anyway. But I don't get just the rare candy. I do other trainers in here as well, so that way by the time I leave, I can get to level 82. Because now I can use a rare candy before Lorelei to get to level 83. But before I take on the league, I heal at the center, deposit my Chim users, buy some full restores, and now, finally, we can take on the final 5 trainers. Let's do this shit. Lorelei leads off with Dewgong. I one-hit it with Thunderbolt, and then next up is the Cloyster. It does waste my first turn using Protect, but she always does that. And then once it goes down, the Slowbro goes down with Thunderbolt, as well as the Lapras. And then on the Jinx, it does survive Thunderbolt because of its very high special defense, and I get put to sleep with Lovely Kiss. But that's fine though, I wake up pretty quickly, although I should have used Iron Tail. Next up is the Fighting type Elite Four member, Bruno. Bruno leads off with his Onix. I go ahead and use one substitute to block any speed drop from Rock Tomb. Although I am so fast, I could probably get hit with 2 Rock Tombs and still outspeed everything, but 1 guaranteed for sure. And then I have to 1-hit the Onix with Iron Tail. I meant 2 hits, sorry. I had to 2-hit him with Iron Tail. It's a little annoying, but their defense is like their only good stat, so it's honestly kind of expected. And then once the Onixes go down, I can go ahead and use Thunder on the Hitmonchan, although it barely lived. But fortunately for me, he just used Counter, and once I saw the range, I switched Thunder on the Hitmonlee, and then on the Machamp, I decided to go for Thunder, but it does live and it knocks me out with Cross Chop. Bruno was actually pretty difficult. It took me roughly 3 tries to beat him because of luck involving hitting Thunders as well as hitting Iron Tails on his Onyxes. But I do eventually win. Next up is the Ghost type Elite Four member, Agatha. Agatha is pretty easy when you have access to Substitute, plus with how high of a level I am, I can just use a Substitute and just spam Thunderbolt. Next up is the Dragon type Elite Four member, Lance. Lance leads off with his Gyarados, and Thunderbolt is obviously going to do over 1 million damage to this thing. But I set up a Substitute first just because you can't be too safe with a Minun. And then on the Dragonair, I was debating whether to use Thunder, but I actually decided to just use Thunder anyway. And I actually one-hit thanks to a crit, although the crit definitely mattered because I used Thunder on the second Dragonair and it does live. But then when I switched to Thunderbolt, it was a clean, barely a 2-shot. See, I should have just stuck to Thunderbolt. But that's fine though, the Dragonite's part flying, it's neutral, I can one-shot it and the Aerodactyl with Thunderbolt. We are almost done with this Forsaken run, but we still have to take on the champion though. But I do have a Citrus Berry equipped as well. It only heals 30 damage in this game, but still, it's better than nothing. Let's go take on the champion now. He leads off with Pidgeot. I use a Substitute to block any Sand attacks or Feather Dances, but it just hits with Aerial Ace anyway, and it doesn't even break the Substitute. And then on the Rhydon, I missed my first Iron Tail, and Rock Tomb actually didn't break the Substitute, which was actually pretty surprising. I think the extra 10 defense points may have actually mattered in that factor. And then on the Alakazam, I get hit with a very powerful move, causing me to lose my Substitute, and I have to reset it back up. But that's fine though. The Alakazam doesn't really do too much to me, and I eventually take it out with Thunderbolt. And then on the Exeggutor, I go ahead and use Thunder and I paralyze it, but I get put to sleep with Sleep Powder because like an idiot, I forgot to reset the Substitute back up. But that's fine though, I can 2-shot it with my second use of Thunder. And then Gyarados can go down to a single Thunderbolt, as well as the Charizard. And once the Charizard goes down, we finally clock in. With a real time of 2 hours, 42 minutes, and 49 seconds, with 25 blackouts, 17 resets at level 85, with a game time at the Hall of Fame of 9 hours and 52 minutes. This was one of the worst runs I've ever played. Honestly, I still feel like to this day the worst run I ever played was probably Pokemon Platinum with Bastiodon. Although I have done a run for Daily December, it's not out yet because I didn't do the voiceover yet at this moment, but it's another Platinum run. I did something that was legitimately far worse than Bastiodon. You're gonna want to see it. But that's neither here or there. It'll come. It's in December. It's produced right now. It'll happen. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. The next video for tomorrow for Daily December will be Pokemon Black with Sawsbuck. A very good normal type. It's not going to be as good as Chinchino, but it's still going to be very good. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, and be sure to follow me on my socials or support the channel through YouTube memberships. YouTube members get access to the patch files for all the backport Pokemon we do on stream. I will see y'all tomorrow as Daily December continues. Unfortunately for me, but fortunately for you. I hope y'all enjoy.